Welcome to the deep dive. So we got this fascinating stack of sources you sent in, all wrestling with, well, a really common modern problem, right? This constant striving, comparing ourselves, and that feeling of dissatisfaction. Even after we achieve something, we're looking for maybe a shortcut, or at least a clearer path to some kind of lasting fulfillment. And interestingly, the leads point back to some ancient thinkers, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, even the Buddha.
Yeah, that feeling is definitely pervasive, this sort of restlessness. And what's striking is how these sources, centuries apart, really zeroes in on a similar root cause. It's captured really well by Seneca, Lucius Annaeus Seneca. He had this observation, sounds simple on the surface. True happiness is about enjoying the present without, and this is key, anxious dependence on the future.
Okay. Enjoying the present.
That's really the core idea we're going to unpack.
Right. But you know, the anxious dependence part, if the future looks bright, like full of potential achievements, isn't it natural to be a bit anxiously dependent on it? I mean, reaching goals feels good.
Oh, it absolutely does feel good, no question. But the sources push us to look at the kind of good feeling it is. What's the quality? They draw a really clear line between two types of happy.
Okay.
First, there's the, let's call it external fleeting kind. They sometimes call it the sparkler. It's that big burst, that dopamine rush, right? You win something, get applause, nail the presentation.
Yeah, that intense feeling.
Exactly. And Marcus Aurelius points out, yeah, it's real. It feels real. But it's fundamentally unstable.
Right.
Because it completely relies on something outside of you. Validation, the win itself, temporary stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if that's the sparkler, bright but quick to fade, what's the other option?
The other option is the internal, lasting kind of happiness.
Yeah.
They liken this one more to a warm campfire.
A campfire. Nice image.
Right. It's not that sudden flare-up. It's this deep, steady, sustainable warmth. And it comes from cultivating internal qualities, virtues.
And the key difference is control.
Exactly. Reliability. The campfire, you build it and tend it yourself. It's within your control. The sparkler needs, external oxygen, external fuel to even light up.
Let's dig into that instability a bit more. Why does chasing those external things, the sparklers, often lead to this feeling of emptiness? Or just wanting more? We all know those stories, right? The athlete wins the big championship, feels amazing, then a few days later, or the promotion you worked so hard for, it doesn't quite fill that hole you thought it would. Why does that happen?
Well, it's because those external pursuits, they create a dependency loop. It's like Marcus Aurelius observed the pleasure wears off, and your brain immediately starts scanning, okay, what's next? Where's the next hit?
Ah, so you're constantly reaching.
Constantly reaching. And think about it. When you base your sense of okayness, your well-being,
Yeah.
on an outcome, a specific number, a job title, what someone else thinks of you, you've literally put your happiness in the hands of forces you absolutely do not control.
Right. Luck, other people, the economy.
Exactly. And that right there guarantees anxiety. Just like Seneca warned, you're dependent on luck, essentially.
Okay, so that's the shaky ground of external validation. Let's contrast that with what the sources call the higher pleasure of virtue, this lasting satisfaction from internal stuff. They list things like wisdom, honesty, kindness, good character, and they describe these as sure-footed and effortless. Now, hold on. Effortless. That word makes me pause. Building character, being virtuous. That sounds like hard work.
That's a really important distinction to make. You're right. It's definitely not effortless to start practicing integrity or discipline or kindness when it's difficult. That takes huge effort, conscious effort. But the effortless part comes once it's internalized, once it becomes part of who you are. It's effortless in the sense that it's self-sufficient.
Self-sufficient. How so?
Well, you don't need the market to go up or the judge to rule in your favor or the crowd to cheer for you to feel the satisfaction of acting with kindness or integrity. The reward, the good feeling, it arises directly from the action itself, instantly.
Ah, I see. It's not delayed.
No. And it builds on itself. And crucially, the external world can't just snatch it away from you.
So it's like having an internal engine that runs on its own fuel rather than relying on some external battery that constantly needs recharging or might just die.
That's a great way to put it. Exactly. And this ties in so beautifully with that profound insight from the Buddha. It's better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles.
Conquer yourself.
Yeah. That internal victory, that self-mastery, that's the ultimate win. Why? Because no one and nothing can take it away from you. Not angels, not demons, not circumstance, not even, as the text says, heaven or hell. You've gained control over the one thing you truly, truly own. your inner state, your responses.
Okay, so if self-conquest, mastering ourselves, is the ultimate goal for this kind of stable happiness, what's the biggest roadblock? What stops most of us from even, starting that work? Because it does sound like it requires some deep internal shifts.
The sources are really clear on this, almost unanimous. It's intellectual arrogance,
Arrogance, meaning.
meaning the belief that you basically already know everything you need to know about life, about how to be good, about yourself, that little voice that says, oh yeah, I know that already.
Yeah, I got this trap.
Exactly. It denies the need for the conquest in the first place. If you think you've already won the internal battle, well, you stop fighting. You stop learning, stop growing.
That connects to that really potent ancient saying they mention. It's impossible to learn that which you think you already know.
Precisely.
And they go further, saying that pretending to know, faking understanding, or faking that inner peace, that's described as one of the worst possible things to do. Why so damaging?
Because it seals you off.
Yeah.
It cuts you off from help, from genuine feedback, from real connection, from truth itself. If you're wearing this mask of certainty, this sort of intellectual armor, nothing can get in. You block the very things you need for actual growth.
It keeps you stuck.
Completely stuck.
Yeah.
And this is where Leo Tolstoy's observations about people and belief are so sharp. He apparently categorized people into 3 groups based on how they relate to belief and wisdom.
Okay, walk us through those groups, especially the third one, the one he seemed to admire most.
Right. So group 1, according to Tolstoy, are the people who don't really believe in anything much. They just sort of drift. It might be cynical or just uncommitted, blown it out by whatever trend comes along. No anchor.
Okay, the drifters.
Then group 2 believe things, but only because they inherited those beliefs from parents, culture, tradition. They accept the teachings, but they haven't really grappled with them personally, haven't tested them in their own lives. It's belief by, default. Acceptance without examination.
Right, just taking it on board. And group 3.
Group 3. These are the ones Tolstoy called the wisest and the most resolute. These are the people who believe in things because they have come to understand them not just intellectually, not just in their heads, but deep down with their hearts.
With their hearts. Does that mean emotionally?
Not just sentimentality, no. It means they've internalized the truth so deeply that it actually changes how they act, how they are. It's become part of their character. And that takes courage, it takes personal experience testing things out, and crucially, it requires humility. You have to be willing to be wrong, to learn.
It's the difference between knowing the path and walking the path, basically.
Beautifully put. It's embodying the principle, not just reciting it.
Speaking of things we rely on for knowledge, Seneca had this warning that feels incredibly relevant today in our age of big data and, nonstop tech. He said something like, contemporary science, even though it's amazing, it can't actually teach us about virtue. It can't teach us how to live. Why did he see that limitation? Why isn't technical knowledge enough for wisdom?
Well, think about what science or technical knowledge does. It tells you how things work, right? It illuminates the path, explains gravity, shows how to build a microchip, maps the stars. It describes reality. But it cannot tell you why you should walk down a particular path. It can't tell you whether building that bridge or using that technology serves a good, a virtuous purpose. Science describes, virtue prescribes. It tells you what you should do, what's right.
So science gives us the map, but philosophy helps us choose the destination.
Exactly. You need that internal compass, that philosophy, to decide where you're going. Science can help us get there faster, more efficiently, but Seneca's worry was, are we just speeding in the wrong direction without that ethical grounding?
So humility then isn't about thinking less of yourself. It's about recognizing that gap, realizing that knowing how doesn't automatically mean knowing why or what for.
Precisely. Humility is strength in this context. It's the doorway to learning, to connection, to actual growth. The moment you can genuinely say, okay, I don't have all the answers here, you become receptive, you open yourself up, and the sources really emphasize this. Significant learning rarely happens in isolation. It requires significant relationships.
Relationships with who?
It could be a mentor, a teacher, a community, challenging peers, or even just a really honest relationship with yourself, where you're willing to question your own assumptions. Learning requires vulnerability, and that often flourishes in connection.
Okay, this is making sense philosophically. Let's pivot to the practical. How do we actually start living this? This self-conquest, this presence, the sources point to a fundamental shift, focus on the action, not the outcome. We control our actions, our efforts, but the results. Those are often out of our hands.
Yeah, and that's so countercultural, isn't it?
Yeah.
We are absolutely obsessed with outcomes, results, metrics, the final score. But the wisdom here is realizing that the more you grasp for a specific result, the promotion, the prize money, the perfect future scenario you've imagined, the more it tends to slip through your fingers. It's like trying to hold water.
So the shift is,
The shift is understanding that taking the action, the right action, acting with integrity, showing up fully, that is the win right there. Regardless of what happens next, the process has to become the reward, not just the endpoint.
that idea, detaching effort from outcome, it shows up really clearly in elite performance, doesn't it? You mentioned some great analogies from sports coaches. Golf, soccer.
Yes, really powerful examples. Take the golf coaches Pia Nilsson and Lynn Marriott. Their core advice for peak performance: get the ball in the cup as efficiently and with as little emotion as possible.
As little emotion as possible.
Yeah, and similarly, a soccer coach, Coach Ortiz, apparently gave the same advice: get the ball into the net as efficiently and with as little emotion as possible.
Okay, the little emotion part is fascinating. It doesn't mean being a robot or not caring.
Right. No, not apathy.
Oh.
It means stripping away the interfering emotions, the fear of missing, the desperate desire to win, the anxiety about the score, all that stuff that clouds judgment and tightens muscles.
So you focus purely on the mechanics, the execution.
Exactly. It's about efficiency without the emotional drag. And this connects directly to another really profound, almost paradoxical idea from strength coach Dan John. He says, safety equals performance. Performance equals safety.
Safety equals performance. Performance equals safety. That sounds like a loop. How does that work? Usually we think peak performance involves risk, pushing limits, which feels unsafe.
It's a different kind of safety he's talking about. It's an internal psychological safety, a state of groundedness. Think about it. When you're worried about messing up, what happens? You tense up, you overthink, you hesitate, your natural responsiveness just shuts down. You actually become unsafe because your mind is operating from fear.
Okay.
But when you achieve that state, Dan John talks about that efficient, unemotional focus, that trust in your training, you are psychologically safe. You're grounded, fully present. And from that state of safety, that's where true peak performance emerges, whether it's sinking a putt, giving a speech, whatever. It comes from trust, not desperation.
Wow, okay. That clicks. And it brings us right back to Seneca again. When you're consumed by worry about failure or even fixated on future success, you are literally stealing the joy of now. You're robbing the present moment, which is, when you think about it, the only time life actually happens.
Absolutely. Worrying about the future completely poisons the present. The sources suggest a kind of trust. If your eyes can see, your mind will process, and your body can react. Trust that natural responsiveness.
Don't overthink it.
Right. The moment you introduce worry or overanalysis, you break that seamless flow. Being present in the action allows you to tap into your training, your instincts, your preparation, without the static interference of anxiety.
Okay, so we need that internal self-conquest, that shift away from arrogance towards humility. And we need this practice of external presence, focusing on action without emotional attachment to outcomes. What's the final piece then? The sources talk a lot about character. And there's that quote from Thomas Bailey Aldrich: "A man is known by the company his mind keeps." What does that mean in this context? How does attention shape character?
Attention is everything, really. It's like the rudder of the mind. What you consistently choose to focus on, what you allow to occupy your mental space, that is what shapes who you become. If your mind is constantly replaying worries, resentments, old hurts, future fears, well, you're keeping pretty poor company in there, aren't you? And your character, your overall state, will inevitably reflect that negativity.
So choosing what company your mind keeps means.
It means actively choosing to dwell on wisdom, on integrity, on learning, on compassion, on the present action, rather than letting your mind default to worry or bitterness or craving. It requires a conscious, disciplined focus on cultivating those internal virtues we talked about, instead of just reacting to external events.
And ultimately, the sources seem to suggest that real strength, real wisdom, comes from finding a balance between the head and the heart, discernment and compassion.
Exactly. The head gives us that critical ability to analyze, to see clearly, to distinguish truth from falsehood, to figure out the most effective, skillful action. It stops us from being, well, foolish or naive.
But the head alone can be cold.
Right. Cold, calculating, potentially disconnected from purpose. That's where the heart comes in.
Yeah.
The heart provides compassion, empathy, connection. It understands the why behind the action, ideally, to serve something larger, something virtuous.
So head without heart is cold calculation. Heart without head is what? Mushy sentimentality, easily manipulated.
Yeah, ungrounded sentimentality.
Right.
Potentially ineffective or even harmful, if not guided by clear thinking. But when you bring them together, that clear-seeing discernment and that warm compassion, that's where you find genuine wisdom. It's like Tolstoy's third group again, right?
Sure.
Those who understand things with their hearts, grounded in reality. That balance makes you strong, resilient, resolute.
Okay, so wrapping this all up for you, our listener, thinking about moving forward. This deep dive seems to offer a pretty clear, if challenging, path away from that constant dissatisfaction. It involves cultivating those internal virtues, wisdom, honesty, kindness, practicing radical presence, focusing just on your actions, letting go of the outcomes, embracing humility, admitting you don't know everything, being open to learn, and choosing that internal trust, that safety over anxious fear.
Yeah, the core message is that lasting satisfaction, that deep okayness. It's an inside job. The most reliable, durable pleasure we can access doesn't come from conquering the endless stream of external challenges. It comes from conquering ourselves. That provides a true, unshakable kind of mastery.
And the real secret, maybe not so secret, but easily forgotten, tying Seneca and Buddha and Aurelius together is simply Seneca's core idea again. True happiness is enjoying the present. And that doesn't mean just, mindless pleasure seeking. It's not hedonism. It's this deeper recognition that the present moment, if you inhabit it fully, with wisdom and virtue, it actually contains everything you need for fulfillment. Stop waiting for some future event to grant you peace.
Right. The future tends to sort itself out when you take care of the present actions with integrity. Our job is just this. Be fully here, act well, keep learning, keep growing in wisdom.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on from Honoré Emile. He wrote, "All beginnings are mysteries, the mystery of creation itself."
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Maybe the work isn't to solve the mystery of the future before it arrives, but simply to be fully present within that mystery as it unfolds, moment by moment.